All right, as far as what you can find easily on this is the x-intercepts. The x-intercepts are always going to be located, remember, where the y-coordinate is 0. But because it's written as factors now, the x-intercepts wind up being really easy. It's just the value of x that would give you a 0 in this factor, so that's p, and the value of x that would give you a 0 in this factor, which is q. So the intercept form, the advantage to it is to find the x-intercepts. Right, and that's really the only advantage, right, for intercept form. As far as the other pieces of information that you can find through this, if you know what the x-intercepts are, then you know that the axis of symmetry is going to be halfway between these 2 points. And so what that means is the equation for it is going to be x equals halfway is just the average. And so if you take the average of p and q, the two x-intercepts, you'll get your axis of symmetry. So again, what that would mean as far as this goes is the vertex has to lie on that vertical line. And then once again, you can use A to determine whether it opens up. If A is greater than 0, a positive number, it opens down. If A is a negative number, it's a vertical stretch. If absolute value of A is greater than 1. Again, this also means that it's a steeper or more narrow graph. And then it's a vertical shrink if absolute value of A is less than 1 as a fraction. And again, so that's going to mean that it is flatter or wider. Oops. A flatter or wider graph. Okay, again, in the finding x-intercepts is really all that this can benefit you in. The y-intercept is also, if you wanted to find the y-intercept, you do the same that you did with the vertex form. You evaluate the function for x equals 0. So you just take f of 0, and that's going to be your y-intercept. Okay, so let's take a look at an example of this. All right, so in this form, the easiest things to find are going to be your x-intercepts. And remember, those are always going to be in the form y's are 0. And so your x-intercepts are just what value of x would give you a 0 here in this factor, 1, and what value of x would give you a 0 in this factor, 5. And so those are your x-intercepts. Again, it does make it relatively easy to sketch that part of the graph. Okay, so here you know that the line of symmetry, or axis of symmetry, is x equals, and it's going to be halfway. So what is half the distance between 1 and 5? 3. Just add them together. 5 plus 1 divided by 2. That's the average. And so you're going to have this axis of symmetry vertically through x equals 3. Is your graph going to open up or down?
Down.
It's a negative, so it's going to open down. Okay, so A is less than 0. And so if you were just to sketch what you have right here, again, we can also see, is this going to be steeper or more narrow? Okay, so it's going to have a vertical stretch. The absolute value of a is greater than 1. So we know that our graph is going to be a little bit steeper, so it's not going to be, this would be what a basic function would look like. So we need to stretch it vertically. So our graph is going to look more like this. And so here is what what we would expect our graph to look like. And so we can get the general tendency of the graph. So we should expect our y-intercept to be located somewhere down here. And so let's test that. Again, if we plug this whole thing into our y-editor, that also tends to lead us to the answers very easily. So we just enter our equation in. It's nice and easy to enter there. View our graph. And when we do that, we can confirm all of these different values. So we can find our y-intercept. Just choose F5, the Math tab. Choose the value when x is 0, -10. Okay. Oops, I had this written backwards. So this is 0, -10. Okay, and then we need to find our vertex. The vertex is a maximum. So if we find our maximum point, choose a value to the left of this highest point. So 0 works. Choose a point to the right. I'm going to use 9, again, just to jump to the right over here somewhere. So this gives me the highest point between those. Okay, so notice my calculator says 2.999, continuing. And you can check it and see. It should mean, you should be able to identify and see, but 2.9 repeating is probably going to be 3. If you see something where it's a number and then it says e to the -6 or something like that, or -20, it's probably going to be a 0. So look carefully at the numbers down here. If you see it e to the minus power, let me know. You're most likely it's just a calculated value for 0. Okay, and I think that's the only other pieces of information. We can confirm the intercepts if we look at the zeros. Number 2, lower bound of 0. Upper bound, I'm going to choose 3. So in between those, this intersection is 1, 0, which confirms it. And then this other one, we can do the same thing. The 0, choose a lower bound of 3, an upper bound of 9. And so the intersection between those is going to be 5, 0. Again, confirms my x-intercept. Okay, so again, I found my y-intercept to be 0, 10. And I think all the other information you can derive from that.